I'll do the research part, and Lucia is going to talk about training. I do want to say, if you have questions as we're presenting, please feel free to stop us along the way. Well, there'll also be an opportunity for questions at the end, but please feel free to stop us if it's a slide that's interesting to you and you want us to go on further on it. So first, just to talk about our institute's vision. The vision for NHGRI is to improve the health of all humans through advances in genomics research. Our mission is to accelerate scientific and medical breakthroughs that improve human health by driving cutting edge research, developing new technologies, and studying the impact of genomics on society. And that's LC research, genomics on society. So I do want to explain that we'll go into our areas of research that we fund. We do focus on human health, but we do basic research that affects human health, and we'll go into that further. So every decade or so, we look back and see what we have already done, what gaps need to be filled, and we develop a strategic plan. And so the last time we did this was in 2020, where we developed an NHGRI strategic vision. And part of the guiding principles and values in the strategic vision was to strive for global diversity in all aspects of genomic research and committing to the systematic inclusion of diverse and underrepresented populations in our studies. Also, maximizing the usability of genomics for all members of the public, including the ability to access genomics in healthcare, championing a diverse genomics workforce, and adhering to the highest expectations and requirements related to open science and responsible data sharing. So, getting to our scientific interests. So, we support all areas around genomics. One thing I do want to point out, and it's the last sentence on the slide, is most of the NIH institutes have genomics in it, but what makes NHGRI unique is we support studies that are generalizable, where the methods can be applied across diseases, or what we learn can be applied across diseases. So we support resources, approaches, and technologies that accelerate genomic research in the structure and biology of the genomes, the genomics of disease, implementation and effectiveness of genomic studies, and that includes dissemination, computational genomics, and data science, and impact of genomic technology and advances implementation on health disparities and health equity. This is something we just started our training, diversity, and health equity office, and we're really trying to build up a portfolio in that area. And lastly, the ethical, legal, and social issues related to genomic advances is something that we fund as well. So, what we've done since we've created the Training, Diversity, and Health Equity Office, and we call this office TIDE, is that we've started really engaging institutions that we have not normally funded, minority serving institutions, and trying to get minority serving institutions to be part of the NHGRI family and to fund those more. And so we've had roundtables to really learn from MSIs on what are those gaps, what is needed for the MSIs to really come in and be a part of our research family. And so these are some of the things that we've heard through these roundtables that they would like us to enhance and support genomics workforce development capacity, including skills, curriculums, and faculty recruitment, broadening training opportunities and support for students. I'm going to take off my mask. Broadening training opportunities and support for students, hands-on training, including funding for personnel and supplies relevant to genomics, funding genomic cores at the minority serving institutions and training utilizing those cores, partnership building within and between minority serving institutions, and NHGRI assisting in training not only faculty but students to operate the genomics equipment and engaging the community. One thing that we were very happy about is in learning about these gaps, we were already developing a request for applications in this area. And so we have recently put out a funding opportunity announcement about the Diversity Centers for Genome Research. This has already gone through one round. The receipt date was in December, but there will be 2 more receipt dates. And these diversity centers fill many of these gaps. So the goals of the diversity centers are to increase diversity in genomics research by establishing centers at minority serving institutions to carry out innovative, state-of-the-art genomic research studies, foster genomic research career development, and enhance genomic infrastructure, computational, analytical, and LC research capabilities, as well as establish sustainable partnerships and disseminate resources and findings. So as I said, we have 2 more receipt dates. Our next receipt date is this June. So I'm going to go a little bit into the diversity centers. So we do have a limitation of who can come in as far as minority serving institutions. They have to have received less than $50 million per year in NIH support and $25 million per year in R01 total costs. And the institutions have to award doctorate degrees and then have a documented historical or current mission to educate students from underrepresented backgrounds. Or you can have a documented record of recruiting, training, educating, or graduating underrepresented students, or providing clinical services to medical underserved communities. So there is a limitation on what minority serving institutions can apply. Then I'm happy to talk to you more about that. So just to get into the 2 different funding opportunities that fall within the diversity centers, the first is what we call the full-scale genome center. And there are 3 cores in that center. There's an administrative core that oversees all the activities of the center to make sure everything is working. The genomic workforce development core is responsible for training and capacity building. And this training and capacity building specifically on top of the research projects that are within the center. So there are 2 to 3 interrelated research projects, and the genomic capacity building will be to train people with those research. So those innovative research projects will be pretty much a base to train your faculty, not only students, but early faculty, even mid-career faculty who want to start doing genomics. Then we also have a community engagement core that's responsible for reaching out to the community, especially the population in where you're doing the research, to get feedback on the genomic study, as well as one thing in particular, we have a broad data sharing policy at NHGRI, and get feedback on whether the community what they feel about that data sharing policy. The data sharing is required in these centers, but based on the feedback, you can ask for an exception to that data sharing because of what the community has said, what they feel comfortable with in the research. Yes.
NIH and NSF work differently when it comes to money. So NSF is indirect cost plus direct cost is 1.4. NIH, the indirect cost is different. So you're going to get 1.4 million plus the indirect cost. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, thank you for letting me know. So the average, depending on what your institute's indirect costs that you've negotiated are, is about $2 million per year for the diversity centers, total cost. Thank you. And so the other RFA, it's a set of RFAs, the UG3, UH3 RFA, or for institutions that are trying to develop their genomic capacity, but they do not feel that they're quite there to be full scale and to perform all the activities of a diversity center. So there will be 2 phases. You would apply in your first phase, you would enhance your plans for becoming a full scale center and organize. And in the second phase, you would then carry out the activities of a full scale center. So in the application, you have to talk about what activities you'll do to enhance your institution, and that's funded at $300,000 direct costs per year, and you can request 1 to 3 years to enhance your institution. Then in the other phase and in the same application, you'll talk about, okay, once we're full scale, this is what we're going to do. These are the research projects, the 2 to 3 research projects we're going to do. This is the training we're going to do. This is the community engagement, all of that. So you have to have the complete application in your full scale part 2 that you're aspiring to reach to. what happens is after the UG phase, in the last year of the UG3 phase, you'll then go under an administrative review to see if you have enhanced your institution and met milestones in order to meet all of the goals for your full scale. And if you've done that, then you'll go on to be full scale and be funded at $2 million per year at the full scale level after the 1 to 3 years. So in that, you can do anything from recruiting and retaining faculty. A lot of institutions, although they may have the infrastructure, they don't yet have the faculty to carry out all the activities. So you can recruit faculty and trainees during that time. You can afford training on software and equipment. That goes back to the gaps, so people talk about the training. I'm going to talk about, there's even a funds that we actually are funding genomic equipment. You can request up to $500,000 direct costs to buy genomic equipment to carry out the activities of your center. And so you can train your students and faculty on the equipment that you're planning on purchasing. You can test and implement the protocols and procedures of your research studies and identify and provide solutions for any logistical problems that you see. And that's in the first phase. The second phase is back to the full scale. I'm going to back up. You would then perform at a full scale level and have all of these cores in these research projects. So going to the funds for equipment, this is in both RFAs. For the full scale RFA, you can request funds for equipment in the first year of your project. And that's, as I said, $500,000 direct costs. And that will fund technology and equipment in addition to the overall cost cap. So in the first year, you can request up to $2.75 million in that first year. So it would be $2 million total costs for the center activities, and then $500,000 direct costs, which is the average of about $750,000 total costs for the equipment. In the UG3, UH3 phase, you can also request funding for equipment, but you do it in your first year of the second phase. So you would not have the equipment funded while you're enhancing your institution. But if you are successful in that and you go on to phase 2 to a full scale center, we will fund for you to purchase equipment to carry out your projects and training. So the resources that you can purchase include, or not limited to, any laboratory equipment that you need to carry out your study, supplies, statistical and bioinformatics software, and that includes computational equipment, workstation servers, and cloud computing resources as well. I did a webinar on the diversity centers in, I think, September. And so hopefully these slides can be shared. And in this, there's a link to the webinar, and it's a full hour, maybe 2-hour webinar where you can listen to the diversity centers. If you are having problems with access, you can just actually Google Diversity Centers Genome Research Webinar, and it'll come up, and you can watch the full video as well as have access to the frequently asked questions and answers. And I am the contact for this funding opportunity, so if you're interested, do not hesitate to reach out to me at any time. So going on to additional funding opportunities that fill the gaps that we heard from the minority serving institutions. We do have what we call the GREAT program, and that's the Genome Research Experiences to attract talented undergraduates in the genomics field. And that provides exposure to genomics research to undergrad students enrolled at minority serving institutions or institutions at idea states. And these institutions have to have received less than 7.5 million in R1s per year. And then it requires any kind of research in genomics that you're thinking of. You can come and apply at any time. But then we have what we call, now they're called Notice of Funding Opportunities. We've changed the name. I don't know if you know. And so these are funding opportunities that are specific to a certain area. And these are our long-standing funding opportunities. So if you're interested, and I met some people who are working in engineering and computational science, and so this may be of interest to you. So we do have opportunities, and these are around research. Lucia's going to talk about training. So we have opportunities for early career investigators. One is new investigators to promote workforce diversity. And so this funding opportunity is for investigators from diverse backgrounds. We have another similar funding opportunity that's open to all, and that's supporting talented early career researchers in genomics. I'm so happy to talk to you more about that. Or I am not the contact, or we're not the contacts for these, but we're happy to give you the contacts. And as I'm sharing, if you see the blue RFA, you can click on it once you get the slides, and it'll take you to the actual RFA. So we do have a computational genomics and data science funding opportunities. And that's one is the investigator initiated research in computational genomics and data science. And the other is, both of them are the same. One is for a larger scale, the R01s, and the other is for a smaller project where you don't need pilot data to come in for the research, the R21s, and they fund at a smaller level. I think these are $250,000 a year, the R21s, and then the R01s, they fund up to $500,000 direct costs per year. And you can request an exception for that, but prior approval to come in at more than that. So our what we call genome science, that's in our basic research area. We have funding opportunities. One is a CEGS, the Centers for Excellence in Genomic Science. That's a center where they do cutting edge research. You come in and do cutting edge research that has what we call high risk, high reward research. And then we have our technology development RFAs, one for academic institutions, and we have others for small businesses as well for technology development. The funding opportunity that is in yellow here, I really want to point out that this is kind of different, where this is not an NIH application where you have to have NIH funding. This is where you can come in and ask for the CIDR Institute to do your genotyping and sequencing. You don't have to have NIH funding. You just have to show that you have the need and you're going to be able to analyze the data from it. It's a different application structure. It goes straight to CIDR. It does not, goes for CIDR review, not an NIH review, but this is something that a lot of people don't know about or haven't taken advantage of. So if you don't have the genomic infrastructure where you can do your own genotyping or have a collaboration, this is something that you may want to look into, where they will do your genotyping and sequencing for you. And they really, a lot of times they have the analytic capability to help you analyze your data as well if needed. And what happens is if you do get the award, NHGRI will then actually give them funding to do your sequencing, and you don't have to have, we do have opportunities where you can ask for a supplement to do it, but this way you don't have to have NIH funding. So I think this is the last, this is the ethical, legal, and social implications research. These are standing, what we call PARs, program announcements for research, and our genomics and society research, where you're looking at the ethical implications and legal implications of genomic technology, genomic research. And Renee Sterling, who is here at this meeting, but presenting in a concurrent session, she's from our LC group and can talk to you further about those. I am now, the last is our genomic medicine division has a standing announcement on advancing genomic medicine research. So any clinical implementation in genomics, we fund this, looking at research and that clinical implementation. The next due date is actually next month, but as I said before, most of these RFAs or funding opportunities do continue on, and so will be reissued. And that's something to keep an eye on. This is a link to all of our funding opportunities at NHGRI, and the last is a link to NIH's central resource for grants and funding. And one thing, and Lucia, I'm sure is going to say as well, if you are interested in doing research and want to see if that's something that's in our area, please reach out to us. If it's not, we will get you to the right people, not only within our institute, but within NIH. So do not hesitate to reach out to us. That's why we're here, to help you and be successful in what you're doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ebony. So my name is Lucia Hindorf. I'm the extramural lead for training at NHGRI, and I'm happy to be talking about our extramural training mission and opportunities for funding and research training. And I really like this area because it is more of our sort of people portfolio at NHGRI. So it's the people who actually come up with the ideas, who provide the career development, and who actually conduct the research training. And so the mission of our extramural training team is to prepare a diverse and talented genomics workforce that is operating at the forefront of genomics in order to accelerate scientific and medical breakthroughs to improve human health. And our training mission covers the entire research mission of NHGRI that was covered in Ebony's talk. And just to give you a sense of what we consider as training, I'm going to go through a lot more funding opportunities in detail, but we include, for example, career transitions, loan repayment, fellowships, career development, educational and outreach activities, institutional training, courses and curricula, mentored research experiences, and then administrative supplements, which are additional funding given to existing NHGRI grants in the areas of diversity, reentry, reintegration, continuity, and retention of talented individuals. So I'm going to start with a very, very broad overview of some resources that you can find about what careers in genomics are available, what types of genomic educational resources are available, and then an overview of our funding opportunities, ones that are specific for promoting diversity in the genomic workforce, as well as our entire portfolio of funding for research training. So similar to Ebony's presentation, we did hear a lot of themes related to training when we did our engagement with MSIs. So some of the gaps that we heard with respect to training included the need for resources for genomics training throughout the entire education and training lifecycle, an emphasis on mentoring, including peer mentoring, broadening training opportunities for Masters of Science students, and developing genomic skills and promoting genomics careers at undergraduate levels. We also heard a need for people to learn more about summer training opportunities at the NHGRI so that students or trainees can bring back new skills to their own institutions. Long-term workforce development programs to build partnerships and training experiences for healthcare professionals, and then site visits from NHGRI staff such as Ebony and myself to understand current NHGRI programs for mentoring, advising, and training. And I want to underscore that we're so happy to be here, and that Lewis and our NSF colleagues invited us to be here. Ebony and I would be happy to talk with you or your institution about some additional work in this space, or if we can provide any additional information to your institution or your colleagues, please do let us know. Okay, so I'm going to go into our training funding opportunities. And I'm going to start with this overview, and I don't expect you to be able to read all of this, but the important point here is that NHGRI supports career development across all career stages, and that's literally from high school all the way up until mid to late stage investigators. And the other important thing here to note is that the range of funding opportunity, or training funding opportunities you see here range from grants that are provided to individuals. So somebody has a research idea and they need to be trained to do it, such as a fellowship. And we also give institutional awards. So if your institution is going to develop a training program to train multiple participants, we have those programs as well. So I'm going to start with our individual awards. And again, so today I learned that NSF does not have activity codes the same way NIH does. And so, at NIH, if you say F30 to any program officer, they'll say, oh, that's a predoctoral fellowship, or postdoc. F31 is predoctoral fellowship, and F32 is postdoctoral. So I'm going to try not to focus so much on the alphabet soup. You can look at the individual slides for the links to the funding opportunities. But suffice to say, I'm going to be talking about opportunities all the way from the graduate and predoctoral phase to early and mid-stage career investigators, early and mid-stage investigators and individuals with a specific professional focus. Okay, so starting with the individual fellowships, we do fund individuals with graduate or predoctoral training who are enrolled in these programs, as well as dual doctoral degree candidates at institutions without MD PhD programs that are funded by NHGRI. So the FOAs, or funding opportunity announcements, are shown here. I've also included the deadlines and then who to contact. So all of my slides are set up in this format so that hopefully you'll have access to them and you can contact the individual. But I'm going to walk through pretty much the range and the goals of each of these fellowship opportunities. And again, please feel free to follow up with me or Ebony or our colleague Renee Sterling, who are all here from NHGRI. Okay, so we also fund career transition awards. So the previous slide focused on fellowships at a specific either predoctoral or postdoctoral phase, and the F99K00 actually funds both phases. So if you have a trainee who has a lot of foresight about what they want to do about a career in genomics, and they are able to apply and get this award, it's really nice because it funds both their predoctoral research as well as their postdoctoral research position. And they don't even have to have a postdoc chosen in advance. So this is a really nice source of stability for someone who's such an early career stage. And again, the goal is to provide a structured pathway for these outstanding graduate students to transition to postdoctoral research positions that are focused on the entire research spectrum, so scientific, medical, ethical, social, or legal areas of genomic research. And then I am the contact for this FOA, so please feel free to let me know if you have questions. We also fund another career transition award that starts at the postdoctoral level. So this is one where postdoctoral researchers are eligible, and it provides a structured pathway for the transition of the outstanding postdocs to achieve independent tenure track or equivalent faculty positions, and again, across the entire research spectrum of NHGRI. We participate in an opportunity for a similar program, but one that is targeting postdoctoral researchers from diverse backgrounds. It's called the Mosaic program, and we collaborate with our colleagues at NIGMS to provide this. The difference is that these are postdoctoral researchers from diverse backgrounds, and they also have an opportunity to participate in additional mentored and career development that is provided by NIGMS as well. So switching more to some of the other individual awards that focus on the postdoctoral and beyond stage, the KO1 provides support and protected research time for a supervised career development experience in genome sciences or ethical, legal, and social issues research. And these are for individuals with no more than 4 years of postdoctoral research experience, but who want to get the skills necessary to become an independent investigator. We also provide short-term mentored career enhancement awards to promote diversity. So these are actually for faculty researchers who come from diverse backgrounds and who need who would like to acquire new genomic knowledge or skills. So this may actually be one that many of you who have skills or experience in areas adjacent to genomics but don't have direct genomics experience and want to get that experience might want to talk with us about. So this is a short-term experience. So it's really sort of it's not exactly framed as a sabbatical, but a lot of people will sort of take time from their individual careers to get that targeted genomics research experience or knowledge or skills. So this might be one to consider for you or your colleagues. We also have a Mentored Quantitative Research Award, or K25, and this is actually targeted specifically for existing professionals with quantitative and engineering backgrounds. So again, maybe one that's particularly well suited for this audience. Yes.
A lot of these deadlines are really close. If you could talk to whether it's going to.
I could. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. So we are putting the deadlines for the current funding opportunity announcements. As you can see, this one is very, very close. So the K25, though, is a longstanding funding opportunity. And so we anticipate that this will be coming in a new iteration and a new reissue. But if you are interested in this, please let me know. I would be happy to put you in contact with the contact program director for this, but this is something that we've participated in for a long time. And again, this is for professionals who already have some sort of quantitative experience, but want to retool towards genomics. Yep.
So you guys know that NSF 21 now, from the organization for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. NIH every few years will reissue it. That's why you're going to see that last day is this, March, and then it will be reissued. So we have to about that.
Thank you. So for those who are participating virtual, Luis Cubano from NSF pointed out that NSF tends to have longer cycles for the funding opportunities to be on the street. So NIH, we tend to reissue them every 3 or so years, and NSF has a longer cycle. So don't be too concerned if the deadline is very soon. Chances are we are thinking about renewing something or are already planning to do something. So please don't hesitate to reach out if this is of interest to you. Okay, so the other area I want to talk about are research supplements to promote diversity, reentry, or reintegration into genomics careers. These are additional funding provided to existing research project grants at NIH. So if you have a colleague at NIH or you yourself have an NIH research grant, it's additional funding to provide a mentored experience to someone from a diverse background or someone who's trying to re-enter or reintegrate into a research career. And what I mean by that is someone had to take a break because of family responsibilities, or they had a situation where they actually needed to get away from their lab because of unfriendly environments and they want to get reintegrated into another genomics lab, for example. These research supplements cover individuals from the high school to the faculty level, so they are very, very broad. And I encourage you to either talk with myself or consult the funding opportunity for additional details about these supplements. I want to also point out the loan repayment program, which is actually a wonderful opportunity we have to attract highly qualified individuals to research. We recognize that not all paths are linear. People kind of go through their training and they accumulate educational debt. And so the eligible individuals here are anybody who is doing research relevant to the NHGRI mission with qualified educational debt. And obviously what we want to do is, if these applications are funded, is to recruit and retain these professionals to stay in research by offsetting their debt. I want to mention that the deadlines that are on this slide are from last year, but again, this program is renewed every single year and NHGRI is going to participate again. The new announcement will be available in July, I'm told. So, and it's pretty substantial. It repays up to $50,000 annually of someone's educational debt. Okay, I'm going to switch gears now to the institutional award. So grant applications that people would write on behalf of their institution to develop a training program. And as you can see, we also have a spectrum of institutional awards here. Ebony has covered the GREAT program already, so I won't mention that one, but I will cover the others here quickly. So the first one is that I'm going to cover is called the Science Education Partnership Award, or SEPA. And again, this is one of these that the deadline has already passed, but we are in the process of planning for the reissue of this opportunity. And so please stay in contact with Ebony or watch our funding page to find out when this will be reissued. And this is basically to fund educational outreach, research and clinical activities that provide early exposure to genomics, increase basic knowledge of genomics, and then provide age-appropriate research experiences. And the target audience for this is actually a little bit unusual for NIH, which is the pre-K through grade 12. So we really want to help young individuals at the earliest stages of their education have exposure to genomics.
The employee participation section of the grant, that's that. So just take that employee participation section of the grant and get a lot more money for it.
Okay, questions? Yeah. Yes. Do you want to take that? So I'm going to turn that over to Ebony because she's the contact for this.
Yes, definitely. The Institute of General Medicine, NIGMS, they're actually the lead for this. And almost all of I think out of the 27 institutes and centers, it's almost 20 who have signed on to it. So it's institutes across NIH that have signed on to this. So if you have a research idea, I can get you to the right person across NIH of who's doing that. And so, yes, it is broader than genomics.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. Thanks actually for the opportunity to clarify. So for those on the virtual platform, so the question was about other NIH institutes that might support the SEPA award and then the loan repayment program. And those are actually announcements that many other institutes and centers at NIH participate in. So if the person you're thinking of or the training that you're thinking about developing is not necessarily specific to NHGRI's research mission, chances are, you might be able to find another home at NIH, another institute or center or office that participates in those opportunities. And again, either you can check the funding opportunity link or come touch base with Ebony and myself, and we can provide some additional information.
Can you tell them about the list of institutes that are participating as soon as they get funding opportunity?
Yeah, so if you go to the link for the funding opportunity, almost at the very top, you'll see a whole list of institutes that are participating. So I think of everything that we've presented, maybe I would say more than half of them, do you think are multiple institutes participating? Like there are some that, NHGRI is leading, and so we're doing that on behalf of our institute, but many of these, yeah, especially in the training space, almost all of them have multiple institutes participating. So thanks for that opportunity to clarify. Okay, I'm going to keep moving with other institutional opportunities. The Diversity Action Plan is something that we're actually in very active stages right now for planning for the next version of this program. So I've put those links. The deadline has passed, but again, we are planning for the next version of this program. This is actually the DAP, as we call it for short, is our main program that is providing research experiences, both summer and academic year experiences to undergraduate, postbaccs, and graduate trainees. And these are extramural awards. So they're funded to institutions to develop training programs at their institutions. But these individuals will be targeted from diverse backgrounds and then also provided research training across the entire spectrum of NHGRI's research mission. I'm the contact for that, so please reach out if you have an interest in this program. I'm going to also talk about, excuse me, other opportunities that we have for educational development. So one that we're really excited about, it's a brand new program that, again, we're planning for. There's a notice to write a funding opportunity announcement for this. And this is to develop modules related to genomics curriculum for the entry-level genomics research workforce. So the idea is that you don't have to have a specific undergraduate degree or beyond. This is looking at sort of medical assistance, lab technicians assistance, for example, genetic counseling assistance. But the idea is that we're going to support lead sites that are teamed with partner sites, such as community, technical, or tribal colleges. And what this will do is provide some basic training for this audience, as well as enhance diversity in genomics by providing opportunities for this entry-level workforce. And the idea here is that the entry-level workforce tends to be more diverse than some of the other career stages, such as genetic counselors or genomics researchers. So this is a new-ish career stage for us to be targeting. The T32s are our primary institutional research training grant opportunities for pre-doctoral or postdoctoral trainees. These also include some short-term research training, and these also include not just the research training opportunities, but the career development and mentoring elements to actually prepare trainees for research careers. So that's probably worth saying. Every training opportunity we have has a mentorship or career development opportunity. So it's not enough just to have a good scientific idea. You need to have either the mentor or be the mentor to support that research. Okay, we also provide specific research experience in genomic research for data scientists. So if you're developing a program for, this one is for master's degree students who are enrolled in programs in data science. And the idea is that this program would provide hands-on exposure specifically to the genomics data sets as a substrate for their analytic skills. So they're already doing the data science, but this is to bring them to genomics. We also provide a similar research experience for genetic counselors. This is for individuals who have graduated from a master's degree program, but are also looking to get into genomics research. We also fund short courses for genomics-related research education. These can range in terms of the participants in the courses from master's level students to well-established investigators who need new knowledge and skills to apply to a relevant genomics research area. So this is kind of our main way that we support a lot of courses for individuals to learn more about genomics. Okay, I'm gonna switch quickly to training at NHGRI. I have a couple of slides here. And again, there is a whole range of opportunities for trainees to come to the NHGRI. And a lot of these, similarly to the previous question, are offered at other institutes and centers. So anywhere from high school to postdoctoral training, from summer to year-long or even more programs. So there's a link at the bottom of this page that I encourage you to pursue or share. And then there's a contact for the intramural training opportunities. I do want to talk about one specific summer program for research in genomics. Again, the deadline has passed, but this is going to be available next year as well. And the purpose is to introduce highly motivated students to the field of genomics research through the NIH summer internship program. And again, we're targeting individuals of all backgrounds who are enrolled in or accepted to anything from community college all the way up until graduate and professional students. And it's a paid internship, which is really important, I think, for many individuals to be able to participate. So thank you for staying with us in terms of this overview of funding opportunities. I want to put my name and contact information. If you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to contact myself or Ebony. So I think we're happy to take any I think people have been asking questions along the way, which is great. If you have any clarification questions for us about NHGRI's research or training missions or any of the funding opportunities, we can take them now. Otherwise, we may switch to a set of discussion questions that we actually have for you all. So any clarification questions? Is there anything online? Should we check?
And
No?
I did want to kind of show you, we were talking about what we have in funding opportunity, how it's many institutes work together. And so you see the one that
Oh.
you're specifically asking about has that huge list of institutes that are part of that opportunity, this particular. So, yeah, so there, we have crossing that, and what I'm showing, and I'm happy to show people, is there's like a long list of all institutes that participate in the funding opportunity. And often as you read the RFA, and we said you may have to repeat it for the
Yeah.
online, is then it'll tell you specifically what the institute is interested in funding as part of this.
Yep.
So happy to share if you want.
Thanks. So in the room, we're discussing how the funding opportunities that many institutes participate in will often have specific language for each institute and what they're interested in funding, because that can vary from institute to institute, but it should all be spelled out in the funding opportunity announcement. Okay. So if there aren't any clarification questions, Ebony and I thought it would actually be really nice for us to learn a little bit more about you all. We have some discussion questions that we would love to hear a little bit more about some of the challenges and opportunities that you see as most promising in genomics. And so, pardon?
I'm going to take notes.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, and so, Ebony, should we just go through all of them? I think we have about, how are we doing on time? We have 20 minutes, is that right?
Yeah, we got 20 minutes.
Okay. Okay, so I'll just read these, and maybe while people can have a chance to think about this, we would love your thoughts really on any and all of this, and we will incorporate your feedback into future versions of this talk. So one thing that we would love for you to think about, question number one, is think about your existing genomics research and training opportunities and the needs of your students and trainees. So what are the gaps? And if you don't have an existing genomics research and training opportunities, what might it look like if you did want to develop one? So what types of programs, research opportunities, and training initiatives are needed or would be most useful at the various steps? Question number one. Okay, question number two. What do you see as areas for collaboration in training the next generation of genomic scientists and health professionals? Number three, what are your infrastructure needs to enhance genomics at your institutions, such as staffing or curriculum? What does incremental versus transformational progress look like in both genomics research and training at your institution? And then number four, how does your institution engage with the local community around genomics? So any or all input is welcome. We're going to take some notes and bring them back to our colleagues at NHGRI and hopefully share some of the opportunities that you all are going to help us be aware of.
And one thing I want to point out, and I'm sure NSF does that too, when we hear from you all about the gaps and the needs, that goes into our planning for our next funding opportunity. So do not hesitate to speak up. It won't like ding you if you say NIH isn't doing this, NIH isn't doing that. that tells us, okay, this is what we need. This is what's missing. And so we want to actually address the needs of our research community, especially HBCUs and minority serving institutions that have not been in our past the majority of what we fund. We want to make sure that we're addressing your needs as well.
Probably I'll step back to you. I have a question. When we were talking about the center, the genomics center, one condition that the institution must be offering a PhD program. I hope that doesn't apply to areas of funding opportunities. That other institutions without PhD programs will take advantage of the many opportunities we talked about apart from the center, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the great, you don't need to go for a PhD program, for example.
You have to have at least offer a bachelor's degree in one of the sciences for the grant, but you don't have to have a PhD program.
I'm thinking we might want to pass the mic, so people online can hear. Yeah.
Do you have a mic there?
No, that is the mic there.
Oh, okay. This is your moment to make suggestions for the future of funding, so take advantage of it.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question. It's maybe related to the first one. So, do you think for start the genome center, do you require that they already have a many faculty member work on the area, or if some institute want that think this is a very, very important genome core for future study, and they can, some other faculty member can propose that we're going to have this center and going to recruit new faculty member in this area. Do you think it is also have this kind of mechanism? Thank you.
I'm going to say something real quick before I pass it to you. Remember what we were talking about yesterday, about mixing funding opportunities. So you're from Jackson State, you guys have a PhD, so you can request an HBCU RISE, take the HBCU RISE money to recruit some more faculty, and then after that, you can go for their money. And, just mix things up. Don't take only one.
That's a great caveat to what I was going to say. So one good thing about the diversity centers is the two different opportunities. One is for full scale, where you're already performing at capacity to do these research projects and training. The other is if you don't quite have the faculty yet, but you do have some genomics going on and you want to build up your institution in genomics. We do fund those first 1 to 3 years to do that, where you can use the money to recruit faculty. And one good thing of what Luis had talked about is if you are a recipient of the HBCU RISE, that's something you talk about in your application. That's something that's looked at favorably, that you are leveraging your other funding to do this. So you can talk about, we have this where we're recruiting faculty, not even using this 300,000, where we're building up our infrastructure. And one thing is, we fund, you don't have to be only a genomics researcher. The study has to be in genomics, but we fund multidisciplinary science. So we encourage multidisciplinary science. So one is you do have people who do have some experience in training in genomics research, but they are collaborating with others, and that makes the science better. And actually, part of the diversity centers are for people who do not have genomics training. You can then have faculty who are doing in another field, then be part of that genomics workforce core, where they're getting training in genomics, where they'll in the future become a genomics researcher. Happy to talk about it more, but that you don't have to have all your faculty in place and they have to all be genetics and genomics researchers. The study has to be based on genomics, but as you know, genomics spans across many disciplines. So
She was talking about the legal, ethical research. You can have lawyers, you can have social workers, looking at how your communities, the minority community, looks at genetics. Why are we not getting more, genetic testing in our communities? that's something that you can research.
Computational biology, all of those things, we need that data science. As Lucia talked about with the training. Oh, sorry. With Lucia talking about with the training, a lot of our data science researchers, data science goes across disciplines. You can apply that to all data. And so you just can then apply it to genomics data. So what we do as program directors is investigators call us up and we'll just have a meeting talking about your research ideas, whether it fits and how we could possibly, okay, this isn't exactly what we fund, but if you do this, we do fund it. We can kind of tell you what little tweaks need to be made to fit it into what we fund. So please, please reach out to us. One thing I always say is that's our job. I've had investigators reach out probably 10 to 20 times before they submit an application. That's happened, and we encourage it. We cannot get enough of interacting with you and guiding you to be the most successful. So.
And remember that the CREST centers gives you money to create academic programs. So that's a big deficit in genetic counselors that are from minority communities. So your institution could actually develop a academic program in genetic counseling and target those underrepresented students. And that will be looked very well by us and by them also when you go for their money. So think about how to mix things up.
Are there other questions or any ideas for us?
The running.
So does the focus of the center is on, or the institute is on human genomics, but do you fund other genomics like basic science, like inverts and stuff like that?
Our center's name is human genomics, but as you know, basic science then is actually tells us and applies to humans. So we do very basic. We do different animal organisms, all of that, because it really feeds into the knowledge, feeds in and applies to humans. So even though our name is human, we fund very basic research in all animal.
You need the application to human genomics.
Well,
your proposal, I mean.
Yeah, you need to show how it will apply eventually to that, but you don't need to like have a straight direct application to it, if that helps.
I understand, but the issue is that I work with inverts and it's very hard to make a point that genomics and inverts could be applied to humans in most cases.
I do want to also point back to something Ebony said, which is NHGRI. So I agree with what Ebony's saying in terms of funding basic research, but the key is that NHGRI funds generalizable research. So if you're studying, an invert model and you're really interested in, as a model for heart disease, chances are it probably wouldn't come to NHGRI. It would go to the Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute because it's not necessarily generalizable across diseases. So you kind of have to think about that part of it. Yeah, where it goes. Right. But I mean, NIH is a huge place and there's likely to be some, connection with another institute.
That's what I have back here.
Yeah, I will say though, we fund generalizable research usually, but talk to us, because whatever you're thinking about, if it does only in one area, but there are times where we have different institutions sign on to our RFAs and they could fund that part. And we fund the actual training part or the infrastructure part, especially if you're interested in the diversity centers. So talk to us. And then if that doesn't work with NHGRI, we will guide you to the person. That's our job, is we will help you figure out who does fund your research and guide you to the person to talk to about it.
Any other suggestions of what is it that you need to move forward?
One thing is, go ahead.
So if you're developing, let's say, technologies or methods for sequencing, is that more for NIBIB?
No, that is us. We do technology. We actually have a whole technology development area. Methods, we definitely fund methods. That's something that's right in our core. Yeah,
Okay.
that's something that's much needed. So yes, definitely.
I
Thanks.
think especially around sort of the structure and function of genomes and basic kind of sequencing technology, chemistries. Yeah, that's something that falls within our portfolio.
Thank you.
But what I was going to say is a lot of times I'm on the person where I think of something later that, like, gosh, I wish I had thought of this. Tell us, reach out and say, this is a gap. You know, you don't have to just call us about your research ideas. You can call us and tell us, this is a gap. Have you thought about that? And we will add that. And we have these discussions within our institute, across institutes. So this is what we've heard. This is the feedback we've heard. How can we fulfill these needs? So please, please reach out to us on an ongoing basis as you think of things.
Thank you so much for your time today. And please, Ebony and I are both here after the session. Please let us know if you'd like to chat with us. And I think you have our contact information in your slides. And so thank you again for the opportunity.